Hi, welcome to Gruber Power Hour. I'm Janie.
I'm Pete Gruber.
And today I thought we'd mix it up a little bit and have a discussion, a question answer session talking about, I've been in the industry, the critical power industry, for 10 years now. Pete, how many years now?
40.
Yeah.
Well, if you count
Okay.
the 10 years of Digital Equipment Corporation helping their customers design their data centers, so you could say 50 then.
Absolutely. Well, even since you've been a little boy, since you've been practicing working on electronics and electrical.
All right, let's go 73 years then.
There you go. Put it all out there.
Much to my mother's consternation, I used to take everything apart just to see what was inside. And of course, couldn't always quite get it back together properly.
I'm sure she loved that.
Yeah, no, I wasn't very popular.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought we'd talk a little bit about what we do and go over some of the questions that some people out there may have, things like that. One of the things I wanted to ask you what has been one of the most critical jobs that you've been part of or that that we've completed over the years?
Yeah, most of the critical power service work that we do, preventive maintenance and remedial maintenance, repairs, battery swaps, cap swaps, that type of thing, is pretty straightforward. You drive to a data center and, they give you access and you're in the equipment room. But we've had some jobs that really stretched our capabilities at times.
Right.
And some of the most memorable, I've got a couple of them actually for you. One is Maricopa County maintains a transmitter site on one of the mountaintops east of here.
Okay.
And this is all old school stuff, to communicate before the age of the internet, of course.
Right.
They had two-way radios, and there were transceivers actually, that would receive and transmit. And in order to get the maximum distance, you went as high as possible. That's why when you drive around towns, cities, you see still some, towers and antennas.
Right. Oh, yeah. I remember over the years looking at the tops of the mountains and you see the metal boxes and things like that up there. You always wonder, how did they get up there? Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. Most of the time, they invest in the infrastructure to build roads up there. And they're not always the greatest roads. In fact, when I used to drive up with a van, I was in that business in the 70s, you typically had to have four-wheel drive because you're going up mountaintops, and they're dirt roads often. And, when the weather came through, it might have left ruts and all that. Well, this particular one east of Phoenix, Arizona, for Maricopa County, was so inaccessible that the only way to get there was helicopter.
Oh, wow. That's exciting.
Yes. We were chartered to replace a aging uninterruptible power system, actually a couple of them.
Okay.
And the battery cabinets. And everything had to be done by using a helicopter to bring in the new product, take out the old product.
Wow, what a logistical, I don't want to say nightmare, but challenge.
Right.
Yeah.
So our guys were up there working there for weeks, and they would get helicoptered in. They would prep the equipment. They would, get the hooks on it so that the industrial military helicopter could pick this off the mountaintop, because this is heavy equipment.
Sure.
One battery cabinet alone could be 5,000 pounds, 2.5 tons.
Right.
So that job was one of the more exciting ones. And of course,
that
our
would
guys...
have been fun to figure out, like I said, logistically, like how many trips you're going to be doing and getting them on site, and whether you're doing them during the day or, things like the time.
And then you didn't have the luxury if you left your 10-millimeter wrench at home or whatever at the shop. You had to actually get helicoptered to pick that up. So you had to be very careful about anticipating everything that you were going to need.
Pre-planning.
Planning was very important. So that's one of the memorable jobs. I remember we've got images somewhere in our file server somewhere of these big pieces of equipment dangling off a military chopper with, both blades spinning.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Industrial, type chopper. And so lots of fun.
I wouldn't even know where we would think to begin then to go out and find a helicopter service to, absolutely.
Parts of that was the county took care of some of that transport selection.
Oh, okay.
And,
sure. That would make sense.
I don't remember, but the county may have even owned, one of those in order to do this type of work.
Right, because I'm sure they do it plentiful with other places. That makes sense.
So that was one of them. Another one, and this was for the state of Arizona.
Okay.
ADOT, the Arizona Department of Transportation.
Right.
In downtown Phoenix, we have what's called a Deck Park Tunnel.
Yes.
It's the one that runs right, between Central Avenue and going east. And anyway, what these tunnels typically have in them is pumps. Because, when we get rain, and we do get some in Phoenix during monsoon,
right.
It can be overwhelming at times. And, of course, you have to get the water out of the tunnels because they sit lower. They're tunnels. So what they typically do is they have pumps. Oh, we've got pictures here.
Nice.
Thank you, Jesse. That is a Deck Park tunnel. Yeah.
It is. Oh, yeah.
Off to the left there, if it was a little bit further, you would see some steel doors. And that's where we were working. The job here was, again, to replace aging, uninterruptible power systems and batteries and even a generator.
Okay.
Now, the logistics of something like this are daunting because if we could see those steel doors, you would see they're probably 8 feet wide or so.
Right.
But, and there's a staircase, but you're not going to be able to, with a dolly or something smaller,
right.
to bring out a large piece of equipment like this or the 5,000-pound battery cabinets. So we had to get rigging equipment involved. And when we were doing this project, there are 2 sides to this tunnel. There's the going west and going east side. What they did was they closed off the going west side, which is because we were working on the south side. And they had both lanes of traffic now on the going west side, and we had this all these lanes to ourselves. And the challenge was to get rigging equipment with booms that would fit into the space and allow us to extract this equipment.
Oh, the limited height.
All of that.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And anyway, these were the types of jobs where our engineering skills kicked in, because it was not your vanilla job where you walk into a computer room, access floor, and you've got equipment sitting on top of it, and you're
go
working
straight there, and it's right away. Yeah.
Inside cabinets.
Yeah, I would think of even the timing of it for traffic delays and things like that, of when it can be done to do something like that. You can't do it at night because then it's going to be completely dark.
Well, actually, we did do it at night.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, and that was another thing. We had to bring lighting with us.
There we go. Okay.
Of course, ADOT is very concerned about traffic flows, and if we did this during rush hour, it would,
well, that's
bring
where
Phoenix
my thought went. That you don't want to do it during the day when you have regular traffic streaming in and out of there. So yeah.
So evenings and weekends, and of course, again, it points to our flexibility. We meet the customer's needs, no matter what that is.
Indeed, and that's something that I've learned over the years, is that we absolutely will do whatever is necessary in whatever parameters to get it taken care of. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so those were interesting.
Janie, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You've got people applauding us back here. Tell us about this image, will you?
Yeah, well, we figured we'd do it like a game show. I was thinking I should have brought in the button, that was easy button that we use when we take care of our customers.
That would be fun, yes.
We have a promotional button that we use to, help motivate the team, that every time we take care of one of our customers, then we go and hit the button so that everybody gets excited about it and rallies to keep momentum and enthusiasm up,
And it's a strong source of validation. I sit in one of those call center office spaces there, and every once in a while you'll hear a round of applause. And of course, I chime in as well, because I know that a customer either got taken care of, we made a sale, or something, that was sales related happened.
Absolutely. Yep. The foundation to what we're doing. So so the people cheering behind us.
And this is Doll E, by the way.
Okay.
We still do not understand why Doll E and even Midjourney have begun to distort faces on humans that we attempt to render and make them look cartoonish. A month ago,
amazing.
it was completely different. So some guardrails have been put up that are affecting our ability to get, human-like
Right. It
images.
seems like they can't do the noses and the details of the face.
And by the way, what you're seeing here is the best version of it. The other ones had grotesque drooping eyelids.
They look like
grimacing
monsters.
Mouth. Exactly, yes. Too many hands. Yes, all of that.
Oh, yeah. They were distorted. Even the guys in the background, the one over me right now.
Yeah.
That one's pretty bad.
If you zoom in, it's scary. Yeah.
For sure. So, okay, let's see what else we have on our agenda here. What has been something surprising that you've learned about our industry, the critical power industry?
Well, having been in the critical power industry as many decades as I have, the thing that surprises me the most is that the industry's evolution in technology is at a snail's pace, specifically regarding the DC storage portion of it. I mean, we are literally in this industry still using technology from 200 years ago or even more so. We're talking about batteries now, DC storage. Whereas the rest of the world that is doing DC storage has already gone way beyond lead acid batteries, lithium ion, for example, multi-cell, lithium iron, solid state batteries. Transportation now, I don't know of any cars, trucks, or any kind of golf carts maybe that are still using lead acid batteries. In fact, the first EV of any consequence, at least in this century, was a T0. And it used lead acid until Martin Eberhard said, no, this is no good technology. Let's go with lithium ion like we're using in our ebooks business. And suddenly they went from 80 miles, an enormous amount of weight, down to or up to 400 miles range, and less weight as well.
Right.
So that's my biggest surprise is the technology just doesn't seem to be as advancing as rapidly as it is in other applications where they're using DC storage.
They need engineers like yourself to dedicate the time to changing it and fixing it and evolving it.
Yeah, and what's odd is I know these OEMs have the engineering talent, but it's a mystery to me as to why they're not implementing these newer technologies. The other thing that I find interesting with the number of years I've been in the business is the migration from manufacturer reps to distribution and direct end user sales.
Okay.
And let me explain for a moment. 40 years ago, you had Exide, you had Emerson, Liebert then merged with Emerson. APC was still in its infancy, making small UPSs along with Triplite and some others. Sure. Toshiba, Triad was another big one of the day. Deltec, long gone. These are three-phase UPS manufacturers. And their typical way to go to market was to set up a manufacturer's rep in a territory. The simplest one was to give the entire state of Arizona to XYZ and Associates, right?
Okay.
Now, the problem with that was these reps would get a commission on any sales in the territory, whether they were involved or not, as part of their contract, right? So the
smart individuals.
Yes. So the challenge for the OEMs was to find a rep that was really out there working and or that had multiple states that also helped and that had enough staff.
Okay.
What made it difficult was for a company like us starting because none of these manufacturers were going to give a major brand to a small startup manufacturer's rep.
Right.
So in order for us to survive, we had to try to find a three-phase UPS option that did not require us to be a manufacturer's rep. And the first one that came along in the late 80s, actually mid-80s, was Best Power Technology.
Okay.
And they broke the mold. They had a very fair program in that you got discounts based on your sales volume.
Well, that makes perfect sense.
It does, yes.
That's the logical way.
And they would set up resellers, multiple resellers, not just one rep in a territory, but they were now able to attract multiple resellers. So the onus for all of us was to sell as much best product as we can to get the maximum discount and position ourselves so that we have the best price in the territory. That makes
so much more sense for them as far as getting their product out there. Amongst, the different territories and regions, because then you're going to have so many more people to be able to promote your brand. Yeah.
And Best Power also did not limit it to strictly resellers or to manufacturers' reps.
Okay.
They actually allowed or made sales to end users.
Okay, you could go direct.
But they still protected the resellers because the end users got retail pricing only. And us resellers out here got anywhere from 15, 20, 25. We actually ended up at one point getting 35%. And that was beyond their limit because 30% discount was their limit for all resellers.
Okay.
It wasn't until I flew back to Necedah, Wisconsin, and lobbied with the owners, the Paul family. There was mother, which was Marguerite, and then 4 sons that were involved in the business.
Okay.
And after lobbying, I was able to extract 35% discount.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And for them, that just makes so much more sense for them to be able to get their product produced, out there in many different areas without being limited.
Well, what you said
rings restrictions.
Yeah, well, it rings true because you should have seen the other OEMs quickly scramble to try to match the success that Best Power was having, because Best Power was sweeping and taking market share rapidly.
You had highly motivated people out there to get their product. Yeah.
So hats off to that company, and that was again one of the surprising changes that I saw occur in the critical power industry today. The OEMs are selling through multiple channels.
Right.
And there are certain times they sell to end users directly, if it's a government bid, for example.
Right.
And we have resellers that are at different levels based on volume. So, many of them adopted this strategy.
Which makes sense, yeah, for product visibility and getting it into the different sites out there using them. Let's see here. Now, my last question that I'm going to have for you is, where do you see this technology evolving, and where do you see us going?
Well, the first thing, of course, is the critical power OEMs are going to have to start moving into the newer battery technologies.
Right.
And some already are, but on a spotty, limited basis. So that's the first rapid change that I see occurring, because lithium ion and some of those solid state battery, the chemistries are so much more reliable, have a longer lifespan, and easier to and they weigh less as well.
That was a thought that just crossed my mind as well. Yeah, it's a lot easier moving them in and out.
But the thing that I like to think about is, think of the process of an uninterruptible power system for a moment. What we're doing is we're taking alternating current, AC, in a building, all right? Mm-hmm. We're converting that AC to DC with a rectifier. A rectifier is a AC to DC power supply.
Right.
And the reason we do that is to charge the batteries and create a DC source, a DC voltage source, to feed now an inverter, where we're now going back to AC. DC to AC. So there's a lot of inefficiency there. And the only reason that inefficient process takes place, AC to DC, storage, DC back to AC, is because you can't store AC. You can only store DC in that type of energy.
Okay.
So what I predict will eventually happen is that the critical power or uninterruptible power capability is going to move right into the computer power supplies. It doesn't need to be in an equipment room somewhere with massive amounts of battery cabinets, with rectifiers and inverters and something completely separate.
They'll build the equipment with it built in?
With it built in as the battery technology continues to improve. Because remember, the energy density for DC storage continues to improve because we're seeing cars now that can go 500 miles, for example, from the 200 that they were before.
Okay.
And that momentum is not going to, there's nothing stopping it, in other words. It is scalable.
Okay.
And of course, demand drives innovation. So we've got plenty of demand. So I foresee what happened with the telephone industry. The telephone industry actually had uninterruptible power in an unusual way.
Okay.
They built equipment that operated off of 48 volts DC.
Okay.
All of the relays and switch gear, and it was all manual back then at central offices. And the way they achieved uninterrupted power was they had wet cell battery banks, entire rooms of them that provided the 48 volts to drive the telephone equipment all the way to your house.
Okay.
And the only thing that the utility provided was DC charging for those large battery banks.
And just bringing it in continually.
Exactly. So I can foresee that as energy density continues to multiply exponentially, that the UPS capability will eventually move right into the equipment, into the power supplies.
Interesting. Okay. That makes sense. Somebody will have to venture off and try that, try to build it in.
And here's where Jesse will probably light up. I think the final version of this type of uninterruptible power system usage is going to move into fusion, into generating the electricity and the power right there where the equipment is, no longer being attached to utilities that are bringing power cross country.
They can charge themselves.
Exactly, because fusion energy is fundamentally unlimited. Do you have anything to say about that, Jesse? Did I strike a chord there, perhaps?
It's on its way.
It's on its way.
Are you at home tackling that? Are you trying to do that yourself, Jesse? Is that
fusion?
something? Yeah.
Yeah, I do nuclear science as a hobby on the side.
Okay. Interesting.
And of course, the fundamental philosophy behind fusion power is it's self-generating. It's you actually get more out of it than you put in. And the closest example that we have of that is our sun. It's a fusion energy generator.
It's constantly,
The challenges are containing all of that plasma energy, and the sun does that quite nicely with a massive magnetic field. So that's part of the challenge with this technology is, controlling it basically.
Right. Okay.
Now, it's not like fission where you create nuclear waste and you have an unstable reactor potentially. Fusion is completely different. So that's my prediction, is that eventually this whole concept of bringing electricity and getting electrons flowing to a building will go away because it'll be self-generating. And the same will be true with cars. Imagine the absurdity of, in a car, carrying a 1,200-pound battery pack around with you. Even if you were driving in an ICE vehicle, your gas tank doesn't weigh 1,200 pounds, right? It's like carrying a gas station with you.
Right.
So the technology will continue to evolve and improve, and eventually we'll have a very clean source of energy like fusion that powers things.
Right. Well, to imagine something where you don't need to have that additional backup power included. I mean, we're talking about going beyond our ability to even think of what technology can come out and be there in the future, if that makes sense.
Isn't it a fun time to live? Technology continues to improve now at an exponential scale. And with AI coming into the mix, we were dependent on mankind innovating and developing new technologies and inventions.
Right.
With AI, that's no longer the case. We're not going to need Tesla. We're not going to need Thomas Alva Edison. We're not going to need all these pioneers that had an inventive genius mind. Right. AI is going to be able to do that on steroids. And again, what are we going to do then? Well, we won't be inventing, perhaps.
Yeah, the concept that AI can think for itself to create and solve problems, to come up with solutions to things to make them better is amazing to me. We're going to go off on that whole topic, but
It's exciting. It's happening in our lifetime. This is unprecedented. It's an exciting time to be part of this new momentum and movement.
Well, I'm not going to deny. Last night, actually, one of the old Star Trek episodes came on, from like the 50s or 60s or, whenever that time period it was on. And I was looking at them. They're all in their board and they're standing in the main captain's room and they have all their buttons that they're pushing. They're trying to be, futuristic at that level, but they were thinking of the future, but they couldn't understand where the technology would be. And so, they have their old-fashioned buttons, that they're pushing on the screens and things like that. And then they have the lights in the background. And they have no concept of what those lights would be representing, at the time, or where we would be, that we could actually, access things like the internet type of thing.
That it could become a reality, yeah.
Right.
What was that thing where you dematerialize and then rematerialize at a different location? They call that something.
Oh, yeah. The transporter thing.
Transporter?
Or something like that. I don't know. Yeah.
We're not quite there yet.
Right.
But I anticipate that, with AI involved in these kinds of concepts, it's not out of reach at this point.
Well, being that, we are built off of cells with electricity basically running through us in a sense, Yeah, that makes sense.
So I have some questions for you.
Okay.
All right. What is one of the biggest challenges that we've overcome bringing new employees into this industry?
Well, I want to first highlight, when we talk about our industry, and I've been in the industry for 10 years, my last 10 years has been focused around taking care of our customers, sales, making sure that we do what is necessary to keep our customers going. And, we've got a wonderful group of people around us and resources to utilize every day for overcoming whatever challenges our customers have. And so that's where my experience has come in, is just making sure that we are doing what we need to do to meet their needs. Sure. And so overcoming challenges, I've been bringing in people into our industry for 10 years now. And there are a couple of things. And one is getting people introduced to the understanding of how we work with different types of customers. Not every customer is the same. We work with other service organizations out there. They are a customer of ours. We work with the resellers out there. They are a customer of ours. And to be able to know when those other companies, the first thing that they always say is, that would be our competition. When I say to look up the company and see what they're doing, oh, that's our competition. No, they're not. They're not our competition. We're going to work with them. We're going to be a resource for them, just like they can be a resource for us. And we align together. And conceptually getting used to that and understanding that is something new. Also, in understanding how much of the technology within the equipment that they need to know to take care of the customer adequately as well. When you come in at first, it can be a bit overwhelming. You've got power modules with capacitors and boards and things like that, and battery packs, and you've got all these different parts of the UPS unit, and you're wondering, what do I need to focus on? Inverters, rectifiers, you've got all these different parts and things like that. And knowing it's about understanding who to go to know who your resources are for that equipment, and just getting used to the language and knowing what parts do what at a surface level, so that you can go to who you need to go to take care of them, to get what they need.
What you described was very much similar to our construction project that just completed. We had a general contractor.
Right.
And the function of a general contractor is essentially to assemble a group of skills.
Right.
Contractors that do the painting, that do the trenching, that do the electrical, the AC and all of that.
Right.
Although we provide many of those services ourselves as Gruber Power Services,
right,
we work closely with partners as well, and we then act as a general contractor. We're a skills broker, basically.
Indeed.
And the same is true with employees. You do a lot of hiring. we're looking for a certain set of skills that we can then translate into meeting customers' needs. So again, we're a skills broker.
Indeed. In fact, we bring project management and into our training for our sales team. Is being able to work with and manage and create timelines and things like that so that we can complete whatever projects are needing to be done. Yeah, that's a big part of it.
Question for you. How do we respond to customers with special needs, battery coverage, 24/7 capability? The Deck Park Tunnel, for example, how do we handle that?
Oh, well, those are wonderful opportunities that are brought into us. And what we do is we start then reaching out to our resources, finding out what we can do to take care of them and how we take care of them. You know, again, we reach out to our customers and things like that. We go back to them just as well as they come to us and say, hey, I have a customer that has a fire suppression system that needs to also be implemented at the time that we're doing the data center in their server room. And so they come along and join in with us to take care of whatever the needs are for that customer. You know, we've done that on many occasions. And so, yeah, we will make and customize a plan for our customer for whatever it is that they need to have done, accomplished.
That speaks actually to our culture.
Right.
But first, before I go to the culture,
yes,
our most successful account managers are the ones that solve problems.
They don't have stop signs, speed bumps.
Exactly.
That's what I say.
And what comes to mind here is in 1985 timeframe, we were selling power conditioners.
Right.
And we had some electricians that were doing electrical work.
Okay.
But we didn't have anyone that could service these power conditioners. So we get a call at 4 o'clock one afternoon, Kaibab Industries down here on Indian School Road, and hey, our whole data center is down. It's not, we can't function. We need help right now.
Right.
Well, the manufacturer of that power conditioner, Control Power Company, is in Troy, Michigan, and they were having supper by 4 o'clock our time.
Of course.
So there was no one to call, no tech support available. So we did what any responsible company would do. We sent someone out there to scope it out and find out if there's anything we can do.
Get boots on the ground.
Yeah. And you know what happened? We sent one of our electricians. He went inside that power conditioner. He found a fuse that was blown. He went to the store, got one, CED Electrical, I think it was.
Right.
And he fixed it. And they were ecstatic. He got them up and running. So a couple days later, they called us and they said, this is a critical piece of equipment. We really need some form of service agreement for this,
right.
to avoid something like this with proactive maintenance, preventive maintenance, and all that. Do you offer that? Well, in sales,
Absolutely.
you never say no. You always say yes,
Absolutely.
and you find a way to get it done, whether that's through a subcontractor. It doesn't matter. You never say no to a customer if they're in need. You find a way to solve their problem.
We don't have those limitations.
No, none whatsoever. And guess what it did? Not only did we get a service contract, but we started an entire division here at the Gruber companies called Gruber Power Service, which is the reason we're having this podcast. Yes.
Yes.
We've got some questions coming in. Highlander is joining us. Hey, how you doing? He says, hi, gang. Nuclear, that's my wheelhouse.
Oh, what are you building out there, Highlander?
Well, he was in a submarine for years.
Oh,
and,
right.
Those are nuclear powered and
that
a
makes
lot
sense.
of strict safety protocols there. But yeah, Highlander is one of our technical viewers. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thanks. Good to have you. Let's see. What else did we have on here?
Well, what do you think the future looks like for sales in the critical power industry? Where do you think it's going to evolve?
Well, what I do love and enjoy is the fact that we know we're constantly going to, it's going to remain.
Mm-hmm.
That's a constant.
The need for uninterruptible power.
It's going to remain.
Zero downtime.
Yeah, zero downtime. We will continue. It's going to be a need that's going to be out there for the future. Technically speaking, like you were talking about, how it's going to evolve and what needs our customers are going to have, that may vary and change with it, but it will be out there. And so I'm excited the fact that we can have that stability behind what we do.
And this will please Jesse.
Okay.
As the technology improves, migrates, changes,
Yes.
the type of company we are, we meet those needs and we evolve along with the technology. So when fusion eventually reaches uninterruptible power or data centers, we'll be right there able to provide services, equipment, and resolve problems.
Well, the fact that we have that flexibility is indeed one of our definite pros in what we do, that we can adjust and evolve. We're not restricted. We don't walk down a narrow lane that, we have walls and things like that. If we see somebody need something, we'll go out and get it. Within legal, of course.
All right. And then finally, how do you ensure that customers are provided what they're requesting with, running the call centers?
Well, we picked up a good tool many years ago. And while we've been able to create a CRM system that has been modified for our industry and the needs of our industry, being able to
Customer Relation Manager, just for those of you that aren't familiar with the term. We have a lot of acronyms here.
Yeah, indeed. So we have a software tool that we're able to use and manage what we're taking care of for our customers in relation to their equipment, and when that equipment is going to have any needs, whether it be a preventive maintenance, battery change out, capacitor change outs, things like that. So number one, we have a good software tool that allows us to be alerted to when those needs will be. And then it's through constant monitoring and ensuring that we are taking care of our customers by following up with them on time, making sure, we just have a constant resources of checks and balances in our system to make sure that we take care of them.
Well, decades ago, we started a really cool feature here, free to the customers or even non-customers, called Auto Notify.
Yes.
And when you buy a Chevy Tahoe, for example, from a dealer, invariably they're going to send you notification when your oil change is due, or your tune-ups or whatever. We do the same thing with critical power. Most people are on top of their maintenance cycles and proactive needs.
Right.
But what we do with Auto Notify is we track it as well.
Well, and I'm going to insert something, overwhelmingly from talking with the different IT directors, facilities managers, and things like that. They've got a lot of responsibility and lots of tasks to do during their day. Yeah. They've got this unit running in the background. They know it's critical and it's important that it's going, but they've got other things that they're taking care of. And if that has an alarm, then everything stops. And so they want to make sure that it's managed and taken care of. Like, that's a big part of their day.
And the critical proactive elements in a uninterruptible power systems are obviously batteries. If you wait too long to change those, you may find out during the worst time when you need backup power that you don't have that 15 minutes that you're expecting. You've got 3 minutes and it shuts down. Or things that are a bit more benign buried inside the equipment, like the electrolytic capacitors.
Right.
They have an 8-year shelf life. If you're focused on maintaining 0% downtime, then you're going to have to proactively make sure things like electrolytic capacitors are changed every 8 years.
Indeed.
So those are the types of things that we will notify you, and then you have a decision to make. We're not bending your arm. We're just letting you know, hey, your caps are due for replacement.
Yeah, it's a heads up.
Yeah, exactly.
Proactively take care of it, for sure. And that goes into play with the tools that I was talking about that we have that allow us to have a constant monitor and make sure that everybody's successfully taken care of.
Well, Highlander's chiming in quite a bit. He says, thanks to Pete. He says, my T-shirt's company motto is never say no. We will find a way to put your logo on. So this show is very relative to my life. Well, thank you.
That's awesome.
Yep,
Very cool.
Never say no. YouTube Highlander also, he says, of course, our main motto is kindness is always free.
Yes, kindness is always free, guys.
And then he asks, how are you addressing the summer heat for your customers? Well, again, proactive flyers, we prepare them for monsoon. In fact, we're due for that here locally.
Absolutely. It's that time. It started.
There are some steps that you can take to protect your equipment during, especially here in this territory, monsoon. Monsoon rolls through, we get a lot of lightning storms.
Right. Well, not only do they need to make sure that their equipment is protected, which we do for them, but making sure that the cooling systems that evolve around the units are also, like those crack units and things like that.
Which is part of what we do during preventive maintenance.
Exactly.
We take temperature readings. We'll let you know, and we'll look at the log files inside the equipment to see if there's any overtemp issues. We check your fans to make sure those are functioning properly so it can cool itself. And, of course, replace the filters that are in the UPSs because they get clogged and it affects your airflow or your the capacity to cool.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's a wrap for today. We will be back next week highlighting something else that's new and exciting in our industry. And you guys have a wonderful day or week.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.